we're going to talk about taking a day trip to Budapest. I'm going to go over what we were able to do in just one day and whether it's worth it or not just to spend one day in Budapest. We spent a week in Vienna and we decided to have one day be a day trip to Budapest. When we were researching this, a lot of people said not to do it because you need way more time in Budapest, but we thought, you know what? We don't know when we're going to be back to this area. Let's just go and see what we can do in one day. We take day trips on a lot of our trips just to see as much as we possibly can. Even though we don't see everything, we always end up happy that we went. The biggest thing with day trips is you gotta leave as early as possible. We ended up taking a train at 7:40 a.m. There may have been earlier trains, but that's about as early as you'll see us leaving on a train. And that put us in Budapest a little bit after 10 a.m. So from that point, we had from 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m. in Budapest. We booked a train a little bit earlier than the last train of the day just because we weren't sure how the day was going to go. Now, just to preface this, we knew that we were going to have to skip a couple things. We are going to skip the baths in Budapest, but other than that, we were going to try to hit as many things on our list as possible. We got to Budapest Keleti about 10 a.m. Next, as we wandered farther into the city, we stopped at Dohány Street Synagogue. We weren't able to go into all areas of this place because there was an event, but we were able to walk around the grounds and check out the beautiful architecture. So we headed over to Váci utca, or Váci Street, which is kind of the downtown area of Budapest, or at least the Pest side of Budapest. This is where you'll see most of the souvenir shops. You'll see the upscale shopping. This is also where a lot of people are just hanging out. As you wander down Váci Street, you'll also come across Vörösmarty Square. This is one of the main squares in Budapest. This was a good introduction to Budapest and it felt like a very lively place to be. The next thing on our list was, of course, another church. We headed to St. Stephen's Basilica, which was beautiful. Now, we've been to Europe quite a few times, so we're kind of churched out, but of course we got to at least check out a couple, and this was a cool one to check out. After St. Stephen's Basilica, we headed over to the Danube. Now, once you hit the river, there's a few things you can see almost all at once. The Hungarian Parliament building is way cooler than it sounds. It's built in the Gothic Revival style, which I have no idea what that means, but it's such a beautiful building. This building, you could just walk around, enjoy the architecture, and honestly, I couldn't believe it was just a government building. Right next to the Hungarian Parliament building is the Shoes by the Danube World War II Memorial, which is a memorial to the Jewish people who died in Budapest during World War II. You can check out the bronze shoes as well as the placards that explain what happened here during World War II. Spanning the Danube and hard to miss is the Széchenyi Bridge. This chain bridge is one of the main things to see in the city. Unfortunately for us, it was under construction while we were there, so it was mainly covered in scaffolding and sheets where they were doing the construction. At this time, it was even closed to cars, so we couldn't even cross it. If you go, you should definitely check it out because it's one of the top things to see in Budapest, and honestly, it's hard to miss. After checking stuff out on the Pest side of Budapest, we crossed over to the Buda side. Our first stop here was my favorite stop of the day trip, which was Fisherman's Bastion. From what we could tell, Fisherman's Bastion was the #1 tourist destination in Budapest. For me, it was #1 as well. It's a Romanesque type architecture style, which oversees all of Budapest. You can see the Danube, you can see the Hungarian Parliament building, and there's a lot going on up top too. There's a church, as well as a small street of shops and other things you can check out. It's also right next to Buda Castle, which we also explored. Unfortunately for us, again, this was under construction. I guess that's what we get for traveling during the off season. It was still cool to walk around the grounds of the castle and check out the things that we were able to see. After the castle, we started heading back towards the train station. It was already late in the afternoon and we had to start making our way back. We decided to just walk our way back because we did have some time. We crossed the bridge by Buda Castle. We headed back towards Váci Street and just enjoyed leisurely walking our way back. We were able to stop in the shops that we wanted to and see other things along the way that we really didn't plan for. We got back to Keleti Station around 6 p.m., which is the time our train left, and that put us into Vienna a little bit after 8 p.m. It was a long day after leaving our hotel sometime around 7 in the morning. For me personally, it was well worth the day trip. Now, I do wish that we had more time in Budapest, but because we were limited on this trip, we were only able to spend a day. Now, my advice is if you can spend more time somewhere, do it. But if you have one day too many in a place, why not take a day trip and see more than you thought you could on the trip? Let me know if you guys think what we saw was worth the day trip or if we should have just skipped it.